Hello and welcome back to another episode of Him and Her Your Space with me, your him hostess with mostest, Chad, Nails Master Life Coach, and as always, my equally fantastic her co-host,
Nene Wyndham.
We are coming at you today, all fresh off the heels of what some are considering a wonderful cultural kind of like milestone, kind of coming back to a really good thing that we've had in Black culture, and that is the release of a much anticipated sequel to one of the Black community's overall favorite films. I think I'm safe enough to say that, and that is, of course, Coming to America with Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, and just a ton of all your other favorite people, and some new faces as well as that have been added, like Tracy Morgan and Leslie Jones, and can't think of my man's name, son, but him as well, and all these wonderful people that you remember, and all these wonderful characters that you remember from 30 some odd years ago, almost exactly 30 years ago, to be exact. We have seen some very, 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 very mixed reviews on that, but we're not going to get into that at first. We're going to talk about what we think, and then we'll introduce some of what we have gathered from other people that we spoke about, and just from the community at large that's checked it out, just seeing what's being said on social media, what's being said in various circles, and so on. So, right off the bat, your first impression of it, because you just watched it this recently, like I did, and what's your take on it?
I loved it. I thought it was really cute. I like you said, it was star-studded. They incorporated the originals, like they pay homage to the original. There was a lot of surprise guests there that were, was exciting. The music was exciting. The dancing was exciting. I think it was an overall cute movie. I liked it.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. What about the storyline or something?
So my thought process is that the first thing that came to my head was that the storyline was good. I guess it wasn't needed, and that's just me thinking of today. But I'm like, they're not just gonna do no DNA. They just gonna go take this word that this kid is the son. You just gonna give a whole country away to this person who you think is the son. Wait, it was a one-night stand. You don't know if whatever. But that was just my thought on that part of it. I think the storyline for what it was, I like the storyline. Once they got into it, and once they talked about, being the heir and the traditions that, the country, that the country lived by, saying that it has to be a male, to take over, and the daughter, and, all that whole concept, I think was very good. It was very today. And I liked it. I think they did a wonderful job. I think they did an excellent job.
I definitely have to say, I can walk away from the movie saying that I did enjoy it. It wasn't as funny as I thought, as I was thinking that it was going to be.
You did see the
However, it absolutely.
Okay. Because a lot of people did. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, very, 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 very well. I'm very, very well versed with the original.
Okay.
And one thing that I'm glad I didn't do was I didn't walk into this looking to compare it to the original.
Okay.
I walked into it saying, okay, what are they going to do to build off of it? Not, oh, this didn't happen like the original, and that didn't happen like the original. Although I will say there are some pieces of it that I'll say I liked it. I'll say I liked it a lot, but there are some parts of it that didn't allow me to like it as much as I wanted to like it. I'll say that. Just some elements of it. I'm not trying to throw nobody under the bus here. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm really not. There's some performance. I'm not even going to go into specifically who. I'm not. I feel like there are some there are some aspects of performances that were in it that didn't gel super heavy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people from Queens, and I don't feel like how they portray people from Queens ain't part of the reality of how people are from Queens. I know a lot of people, so I don't feel like I feel like there was a lot of extraness there in terms of the American side that I personally, I'm not even going to speak for it, but I personally feel like there was kind of a disconnect because I'm not ratchet. There was some ratchet elements. I'm going to just say that.
Okay.
I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to say what character it was applied.
I mean, we could probably narrow it down. There are only three characters.
There was only but so many.
Yeah, that were there, or four, or whatever. I can say that the funny part of it, and it's probably just, I have a problem laughing. Not have a problem. I don't typically laugh at a movie, even if it's funny, even if it's a stand-up comedian or whatever. If I'm watching a movie by myself, like, I have an issue laughing by myself. Like, why are you laughing by yourself? Like, you're chuckling. I literally laugh out. Like, I literally laugh out loud the entire movie by myself. So, like, there were parts on there where I literally, like, bent over holding my stomach, like, oh my god, like, that was so funny, right? So that part of it where I thought it was hilarious. The part of it where people from Queens, and I know the character that we talked about a little bit, I know the character you're speaking of, but you also have to look at the other character that was from Queens that wasn't like that. So not that they're saying that people from Queens are like that, because you had two sides of the spectrum. So it wasn't saying that this is a replica of what Queens looks like, or the people that live in Queens act like this. That's how she acted. And there are people in Queens, I just spoke Queens, but there are people in Queens that act like that. There are people in Queens that act like the other person, and there are people in Queens that act in between. Like, so there is no queen, no queen.
Right. There's no. It's not a monolith.
Right.
There's just like one way to be. That's what I totally agree with you. That
right.
To all of y'all in Queens, that's not me throwing shade at y'all. Y'all know, okay? All right, don't come for me. But yeah, it's just some measure of disconnect. Now, what I will say that I did in comparison to, I'm like, yo, are these costumes going to be like what we had, like what they did for the first one? But there was no disappointment. Mm-hmm. There was no disappointment whatsoever. Right.
The costumes were, I think, much better than the first.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, you got to think of 30 years of advancement in terms of like costume design and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Definitely, like my part. Spoiler alert: Gladys Knight, how she was looking. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, can you make her the next leader of Zamunda the way she's looking right now?
Right.
Because damn.
Right.
Like damn.
Right.
Everything was definitely what I needed it to be on that level. And I will say, for the storyline, I asked you how you felt about the storyline. There was something very, very hard hitting that came out of that definitely took it past kind of like that halfway, like, or so, and definitely took it past the that liked it to like really liked it level for me. And that was the concept of what children go through to try and make their parents proud, which was kind of like the central element behind the turmoil of what Eddie Murphy's character, Prince and now King Akeem, was doing in terms of, the balance between raising his daughters, the balance between making sure that his wife's okay, the balance between having this new son and then trying to make sure that he's trained up. And there was kind of an echo to the first movie that I thought was really cool, especially with the passing of James Earl Jones' character, King Joffrey, which kind of like opened up that way of saying, okay, you're the king now, which means just like how he changed the rules for you, you almost have to carry that forward. Like, don't forget that the rules were changed for you. She shouldn't have been your wife, according to the rules. According to the rules that you're trying to hold on to, she shouldn't have been your wife. But your parents understood that sometimes things need to be altered and things need to be adjusted for what's happening. So for that lesson to be brought about to, ultimately, in the end, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, then do not listen to this part. For them to get to the end part.
You spoiled the movie already. Like, if
okay, I don't even care. It's been the weekend. Like, y'all had the weekend to watch it. So if you haven't seen it by now, I'm sorry, but I'm not.
Game on, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to get to the end of the movie and then for him to realize who was the best person for the job was actually his eldest daughter, and then finding where his son would fit. That's what us as parents and hopefully leadership in general should be thinking along the lines of, not just in terms of keeping the status quo. Of course, there's always the balance between maintaining tradition and adjustments for the changing in times and so on and so forth. But that has to be done. It is that balance that has to be done, that has to be addressed, and has to be maintained. She had trained his oldest daughter, had trained her whole life to assume the throne, because up until the knowledge that there was a son, it was assumed not even just by them but by the country that she was next in line. And if that wasn't his cup of tea, which it was proved to not be, then it's not. You want to go be an ambassador to America, then be the American ambassador. Cool, that's where you was at. You understand the culture. You can open up better trade routes or political ties or whatever. And that's what it was. That's what it ultimately ended up being, which I thought was fantastic. But that lesson of, okay, I should not be obligated to be the king my father was. I have to be the king that I need to be for what I have in front of me. My father did not have the same situations in front of him. And for the situations that he did have in front of him, remembering part of my own story in that, my father made the necessary choices in order for me to have the life that I have. So going forward, I need to do that not only for my kids, but for myself. And as a parent, I stand 150% behind that. That made me think about my kids heavy. Like, it's not my job to have you be like me. It's not my job to make sure that you're like your mother. It's my job to do what I need to do to have you be who you need to be.
Right. And
I think that was, yeah.
Go ahead. Go.
Go ahead. But no, you go ahead.
I was going to say it was a side note. So go ahead and finish your thought.
Long. Go ahead.
No, I was
let me talk
say,
that long. Go ahead.
Unless I missed it, what happened to his mother? Obviously, she wasn't there, but did they talk about what happened to her?
They do not say what happened to her. His mother, Aeolian, was played by Madge Sinclair, which, funny enough, also played Mufasa's wife in the original Lion King. She played Sarabi. So James Earl Jones and Madge Sinclair. This is not their first rodeo. That was not their first rodeo. As a matter of fact, Coming to America was their first rodeo. And then Disney brought them together to do Mufasa and Sarabi for the Lion King. And then she, in real life, obviously, she passed a few years after, several years after the Lion King. But they don't say that, how she passed, but it's assumed that she did.
Good fact. Okay. Because I remember, I can't think of his name. I'm going to go back to Good Times. James. I can't think of his character.
John Amos.
Yes. when he mentioned her in the movie, like, oh, what would your mom say and whatever. But I was like, did I miss it? Like, did she pass away? And like, I didn't get what happened to her. But obviously she passed away. But I didn't know if they talked about it. Assumed that she passed.
It's assumed that she passed. So without going into details like that, only because Madge Sinclair died several years ago. Now, I want to say like in the early 2000s. I want to say, which we're looking at like somewhere between 10 and 20 years ago. Now,
okay.
But yeah, and to be able to touch on that, and I was so glad that they did, because from what I remember of the first movie, she was the one that brought the notion of changing the rules to the king. It allowed for Eddie Murphy's character and Sherry Henry's character to get that. It's like, well, he loves her. And he's like, well, who am I to get in the way of tradition? And she says to him, I thought you were the king. And he stops and he's like,
right. Yeah. But I think it was a good movie. I like even in the storyline and the concept of relationships themselves in the storyline, where the two moms, so the mom of the queen and the baby mama, who got together and they got along for the betterment of the country or whatever, or for their children or whatever, and they didn't have that whole typical baby mama drama that typically happens or whatever. So just to see that relationship come together. What?
Yeah. Oh, nothing. Just that first part where this girl dipped into the queen's closet and took a dress and whatnot. You took somebody else's whole outfit.
Right, but that's because we talked about this as well. We talked about that as well, and it was more. I didn't see it as being ratchet. I saw it as her coming into the queen's home, and she's like, "Oh, well, she got some nice clothes." Like that is okay. I'm not condoning that.
All right, as long as you say that. I'm giving you
but she went in. She's like, "I want some royalty clothes too." Like she got enough clothes. She got a seamstress. She's
it's still ain't for you to be different. It's still ain't for you to be different. Point blank,
but
period. It ain't show.
About that. Like,
it ain't show.
About that one part of the movie. It was like she wasn't. You're more upset than she was. She wasn't that mad.
I'm not one for stuff like that. I'm a very personal person. You won't come into you a guest in my home and you gonna take my stuff without saying nothing.
Right, but that just goes into the whole character of who she was, and in the end, they worked it out. She got her own outfit. But yes, they was drinking Crown Royal. Was they drinking Crown Royal or Ciroc? They was drinking one of them at the bar, Ciroc at the bar, and they got home. And it was like, let's do this. Let's, and it was that dynamic of, I know that you're the queen, and I know I'm just, baby mama, but we can still make it work. And we're, they're from the same town.
And I wish more people did that. I wish more people.
Yeah, we need to. So I liked it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was funny. I think a lot of people compare it to, they think of it as a remake as opposed to what's the word I'm looking for? As opposed to a sequel. Yeah. So they think of it like, oh, the first one was better, but you can't compare like with a better or worse because it's two separate movies. Like it's two different movies. Right. So I think once people get it out of their head that it's not a remake, that it's a sequel and not a remake, then I think they can see it differently and understand that they're taking today's concepts of a woman can rule a country. Like that's okay. Like we can do a good job. Like obviously she kicked Wesley Snipes and his whole troops behind with her sisters or whatever. So they're capable of running an entire country. And the son not taken away from him because of his birthright, but it just won't be there because he wasn't there. He wasn't trained there. He wasn't brought up he doesn't know the culture. So the American culture, you go do you boo in the American culture, and I'll give you the power to do that. But she did her diligence here. Like she deserves to be here.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So I liked it. I think and I'm gonna go back and watch it, not tonight. but I'm gonna go back and watch it because you know you watch it a second time or third time, you pick up things that you didn't pick up before. Because I know there's some other lessons learned in there that to be learned in there that I probably missed or whatever. But I like the whole, and I think a lot of people. I'm going to be careful in the words that I choose, but I don't sugarcoat. But I think a lot of people are so used to Housewives of XYZ and the drama that goes along with that, or the whole Friday series, or the whole, like that type of Black entertainment, that's where the disappointment comes in. Because it wasn't a drama, it wasn't no baby mama coming up in there like you this and you that or whatever. There were civilized people who built healthy relationships and had healthy foundations. And because the media messes with our minds so much with the Black entertainment that we see on TV and the Black movies that we see that come out, that we're missing the, like, that's a solid movie. Like, that's what Black.
I would agree.
That's a solid movie. Like, we don't have, and they have their little ratchet, like you said, their ratchet elements in there, but it wasn't an overall ratchet movie. It wasn't the drama and this and all that. It was that's how relationships are done right. That's how, I'm not taking
I definitely have to agree with you on that.
Absolutely. And that's what we're not used to seeing. So I think a lot of people had some problems with that. And I'm taking that based off of the post that I saw on Facebook. So I'm not just assuming. So the post that I saw on Facebook, we're not used to see, unfortunately, we're not used to seeing healthy relationships displayed on TV in our community. Those were all healthy relationships.
We have a one-dimensional way of thinking. This is how Black people are supposed to engage with each other.
And it wasn't funny.
This is boring.
Right.
I can honestly say I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I see people, will post up and say like, "Yo, I'm gonna walk into every room like Wesley Snipes did that."
Yes, with his riding boots on. Yes, Wesley. Praise Wesley better go. I was very proud of Wesley.
There was some very good acting.
Wesley did a very good job. I was very proud of Wesley Snipes. He did an awesome, because I've never seen any of his movies where he's not serious or like a villain or something like that, where he's just silly and just like calm and laid back and being silly. And I really enjoyed him in that role. I really did.
You never seen no movie where he was like that? We never seen White Man Can't Jump?
He wasn't silly in there. It was a comedy.
There was some funniness. Yeah.
There was some funny in there, but his overall character wasn't him walking up in there with some ride boots on. No, it wasn't. He was very silly, and I really enjoyed him. And I enjoyed seeing him back on the screen because he's been away for a while. So I enjoyed seeing him.
I saw him in here and there in some places. Like, I think the last thing I saw him in was The Expendables 3.
Yeah. So I enjoyed his part on there. I enjoyed everyone's part. I think everyone did an excellent job. I think the underlining of showing how relationships can grow and develop and build a foundation to have the togetherness of a country and a community, of not having crabs in a barrel and not trying to outdo anybody, and that whole thing. And everyone, the baby mama is respecting the role of the queen, and the brother is respecting the role of his sister, and Wesley Snipes is respecting that you didn't marry my daughter, but we can still have this peace within the country and not have war, and all those healthy relationships were shown, and that is awesome in itself. That itself is awesome. And then John Legend at the end with his song, and then Sexual Chocolate showed up. I said, "You better go ahead, Sexual Chocolate. You better go ahead. That was my favorite part when he showed.
I sat there waiting to see how this was gonna work. I said, because ain't no way you're not going. And then he brought the original band people.
Yes.
30 years older on some nonsense.
Yes, I said,
look like Garcelle throwing out flowers. That woman been throwing out flowers for 30 years.
With that Jerry curl, honey. Yes, honey.
Still fly.
I said, there you go, with his sexy chocolate self. You better go ahead.
I'm hoping that he ain't do no mic drop.
You better go ahead. Yes.
You know,
But
yeah,
I
so
thoroughly enjoyed it. I laughed my tail off by myself, and I enjoyed the movie. I did,
yeah, I can honestly say that
and I'm
I can
gonna watch
honestly
it
say that
again.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'm
I
gonna watch
definitely
it.
said it. Yeah, I was on. I think I was on the fence about watching it again. Like, yeah, once is enough. But you know what? I am going to go back and I'm going
Yeah,
to see. I'm going to go back and see what I didn't see
right.
the first time.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know,
Because I
now
think
that I already
too.
have.
Yeah, I think to be when we're watching it the first time, we're watching it to see how good it is and not to pay attention to, what
Yeah,
lessons or what, what the message really is behind it. And there were a lot of lessons in there, a lot of stuff that you did, a lot of takeaways, our favorite word, a lot of takeaways from that movie.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I
So,
enjoyed it. I did.
just as a final thought to those, to you guys out there that are watching, if you haven't seen it already, I definitely recommend checking it out at least twice. We're gonna say at least watch it twice. Once to get an understanding of it, and then the second time to really pay attention to it, because
Right.
there are some things in there that are definitely worth pulling from, not just to be entertained, but to actually gather something
Mhm.
from it. Which, of course, in our line of work as being life coach, we always want you to be able to pull something from it. So yeah, look and listen. You know, even if you walk away saying like, oh, it wasn't as entertaining as I would have liked it to be. Look for the messages. If you can't get something entertaining from it, get something important,
I agree.
and take that with you.
I agree.
Take that with you.
I agree.
So yeah. So if you guys agree or don't agree with us, let us know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. Of course, we will see you guys next week with our next reaction video and everything. We will also be rolling out our masterclass video next week with our panel
Week
of
from today.
wonderful that's right. With our panel of wonderful mental health professionals. When we're talking about mental health, so be sure to stick around for that. And as always, we will see you here in her space where there are two coaches
One space
and
and
zero
zero
reservations.
reservations.
All right,
Yay.
you guys have a wonderful
Bye,
weekend.
guys. Love you.